Well, we want people that can fit into our system. We're going to run. If you're going to play with Caitlin Clark, we're going to.
Let's get into it. The team just announced Amber Cox as the new Chief Operating Officer and GM. But here's the burning question. What does Caitlin Clark think about this shift? We know Clark is the franchise player, so her opinion could be huge. Let's break it down. The Fever just dropped the news that Amber Cox is taking over as GM and COO, Chief Operating Officer. That's a power move, right?
Looking at the 4 teams that are in the finals right now, we need a couple of more players. We don't have as much talent as New York and Connecticut and Minnesota. They're a couple of years ahead of us. So we've got to go into free agency and look for a talented veteran that can take us to the next level.
Skill set wise, what's on your mind when you go there, Lynn?
Well, we want people that can fit into our system. We're going to run. If you're going to play with Caitlin Clark, we're going to play up-tempo, fast basketball. But at the same time, I want you to be able to spread the floor, get to the rim, and then defend. We know that our defense was a little better, but it's not where it needs to be. The 4 teams that are in the Final Four are all the top 4 defensive teams. So that's an area that we've got to continue to address.
I imagine here early on, you guys start talking to free agents. There are going to be players that want to play free agent-wise with Caitlin Clark because of how she gets them the ball, everything else?
Absolutely.
Lind Dunn, who's been leading the charge, is stepping aside into an advisory role. Now, don't get me wrong, Dunn's a legend. And she was instrumental in drafting both Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. And some might try to sensationalize this and say that Dunn didn't see this coming. I would venture to say that she welcomed this change. At nearly 80 years old, she's ready to do something different. It's time for new leadership to push the Fever into that championship conversation, don't you think? Amber Cox brings in a wealth of experience from the Sun and Wings. She knows how to drive both business and basketball success. So this isn't just a regular hire. This is the Fever saying, we know what we've got in Caitlin Clark, and we know that it's special, and we're not wasting it. So let's talk numbers, because that's where things get a little spicy. Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, the Fever's business numbers, its metrics, have skyrocketed to the moon. Ticket sales are up, merchandise is flying off of the shelves, and the Fever games are consistently drawing the highest TV ratings in the league. Remember Game 1 against the Sun? 1.8 million viewers. Game 2? 2.5 million viewers. That's 4 times the average for the rest of the playoffs. And let's not forget about Game 2, peaked at 3.4 million viewers. To put that in perspective, the Fever without Caitlin Clark, well, let's just say, not as hot. Cox is coming in at the perfect time to harness that momentum. She's got the business acumen to keep growing the Fever's brand and capitalize on Clark's star power. Something it seems the league refuses or is unwilling to do. But here's the kicker. Amber isn't just about business. She's about basketball. And with the Fever being on the cusp of something special, this change could be that push that gets them a championship. Now, we've got to talk about Coach Christy Sides, the head coach. She took this team from rock bottom last year to the playoffs this season. That's awesome. That's great. So basically, you took them from 13-27 to now 20-20 regular season. She even got a Coach of the Year vote, which is no small feat. But here's the deal. New GMs often want their own people, their own entourage with them. It's like when a new coach comes in and starts trading players, they want to have their own stamp of approval on the team. But here's where it gets interesting. Caitlin Clark, she might not want this kind of power, but by nature as the franchise player, she has it. If Clark supports Sides, well, then she most likely will stay. If she's not sold, well, then that might be the deciding factor. And remember, she's the one drawing in the revenue, the fans, and the media attention. As a former military ops officer, I can tell you, When it comes to chain of command at higher levels, you don't make this kind of move without talking to your general first, which, for the Fever, is Caitlin Clark. Let's get into the why this matters for Caitlin Clark. Clark's already made a huge splash in her rookie season. She's broken records, brought in new fans, and turned the Fever into must-watch basketball. But here's the thing. If the Fever want to turn her star power into championships, they need to get the pieces around her right. And that's where Amber Cox comes in. Cox's track record shows she knows how to build a winning culture. The Fever are positioning themselves to be a serious contender, not just for next year, but for the foreseeable future. And if they can surround Clark with the right talent and make the right moves in free agency, we could be looking at a dynasty in the making. Let's zoom out for a second. What does this mean for the WNBA? Well, the Fever's success is tied directly to Caitlin Clark's ability to elevate the entire league. Her games draw more viewers, bring in more sponsorships, and get more media attention. If the Fever win big, it's not just a win for them, it's a win for the entire league. But here's the thing. The league needs to fully embrace Clark's star power. ESPN isn't scheduling her games on ESPN2 for a reason, because she's the draw. It's time the league starts leaning into that instead of spreading the spotlight evenly across players who frankly aren't moving the needle the same way. And that's just facts. So where do we go from here? The Fever have set the stage for a new era. Amber Cox is in, and Caitlin Clark's opinion will play a massive role in what happens next. Whether that's keeping Christy Sides or bringing in a new coach, either way, the Fever aren't playing around anymore. They know what they have in Clark, and they're ready to capitalize on it. This could be the start of something really special. Let me know what you think in the comments. Will Amber Cox be the GM to take the Fever to the next level? And most importantly, what do you think Caitlin Clark's role will be in these major decisions? Drop your thoughts below, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the Fever and the WNBA. Until next time, keep balling.